14th of 2024. That's 10/24/2024. This is the week of the Aries full moon. And if we were thinking, wow, we're past the eclipses, we're past the Pluto station, we're past the Jupiter station, certainly things must be calming down. Not so much. This Aries full moon is not an indication of things calming down all that much. It is always a very active full moon. It is one that this week it happens to fall on Thursday. We'll certainly be feeling the energy on Friday and then through the weekend, which is actually pretty nice. We'll have the moon still pretty full in Taurus all the way through the weekend. So some pretty good energies going on. It should be a nice opportunities for having some fun on the back half of the week after this Aries full moon. Aries full moon is certainly, it's got a little tension associated with it. There's no two ways about it. Really good for getting busy with things, doing things. This is an active full moon, so you want to get out there and, if nothing else, do some sensible exercise. Don't ruin yourself. There's a little sensible exercise or something like that. It could bring to It could bring to a head things that are lingering in the relationship area, because the sun is in Libra, sort of a relationship sign. It is now anyway. It's another story, but the sun is in Libra and the moon is in Aries. So the sign of the other and, considering the other and the sign of the self are involved in this full moon. And the sun is in the sign of the other, not necessarily where the sun wants to be, shining a light on the moon in the sign of the self, which is the sun's favorite sign. And so there's a balance that comes here. And then the balance is between the balance of Libra and then balancing the I'm doing my thing and we're doing our thing. It's a little bit of a koan, a little bit of a puzzle for us as we deal with the energy of this full moon. And that would actually work out in terms of certainly personal relationships, but also in terms of anything that we're doing where we need to, do we follow the rules? Do we go through protocol? Do we, mind our manners, the sun in Libra? Or, perhaps we are just doing what we want to do, the moon in Aries. The sun is going, I'm in Libra, but that looks good to me. And so there's this kind of want to go do your own thing around this full moon. Now, really, really interesting for those who are who do have relationships, and I do mean personal relationships, at a tipping point. There's a lot of energy this week. There's an awful lot of energy building up to that full moon, and it all comes from the planet Venus. Now we have Uranus, we have Neptune, and we have Pluto all at the end of signs, right? They're all at the end. Pluto's at 29 of Capricorn, Uranus is at 26 of Taurus, Neptune is at 28 of Pisces. And so any planet that's coming by in any sign that's going to aspect these is going to meet with Uranus or connect with Uranus, connect with Neptune, connect with Pluto, and then change signs. And that's what Venus does this week. Venus is making connections. And the first thing that happens earlier in the week is the opposition to Uranus. Now, Venus in Scorpio, where she's not thrilled to be, it's a little gritty for Venusian tastes, is going to be opposed by Uranus, and Uranus is in Venus's home sign. So at least they're kind of speaking sort of the same language. It's reception, as we would call it in astrology. So it's an indication of let's make some changes. Let's move things along. And it's not a bad energy by any stretch of the imagination. It is this kind of like, okay, what are the facts and what do we want to do? Then Venus will go on to trine Neptune, and that's a soft aspect, and that kind of allows us to sort of fog things out just a little bit. It allows us to kind of put things in soft focus, and that can help. And then Venus goes on to make a nice sextile to Pluto, not the most powerful aspect in the world, but Venus is in Pluto's home sign. And it's sort of a little bit saying, how do the emotions connect with the structure of our relationships? This is kind of the way we would think about it. So there's some good potential there, but it's to get things moving. Now, if you're not at a tipping point in a personal relationship, this energy is pretty good for socializing. Again, we're building towards the full moon. We're feeling this kind of want things to happen. Venus in Scorpio could make us a little bit more hesitant when it comes to getting out and doing things and so on, but only so much. Only so much. And then Venus is we start with the more energetic aspect is the important point, right? So it's like we want to make some changes. We want to get out. We want to socialize. We want to, and even if Venus is in Scorpio, Uranus is saying, "Come on, get off the couch." It's Monday, Tuesday type of thing. But let's go do something. Let's get things moving a little bit. Um, if as a work kind of thing, it's not particularly relevant, I guess, but it does have pretty good energy for getting folks to maybe think a little bit, outside the box, as they say. That's kind of where things are going. Still, if it's a personal relationship issue, especially with the sun, and the sun is going to connect with partnership asteroid Juno, conjuncting Juno right at the full moon. And that's a strong indication. That's a strong indication of the importance of this week for folks that are in, romantic personal relationships that are at a tipping point, which means, if you're thinking that things could be better and we could go further, if you're thinking, well, enough of this, you get that too. So it's not like you really have it's not saying things are going to go one way or the other. It's just saying this is an opportunity to move things in one way or the other. For the rest of us, it's a nice vibe for socializing and stuff like that, more or less. Venus, right at the full moon or right after the full moon, Venus leaves Scorpio and leaps into Sagittarius. And then for the next few weeks, we have this kind of nice energy of Venus and Sagittarius. She's really pretty far ahead of the sun and will be all the way up into a retrograde in February, March, something like that. So Venus is pretty far ahead of the sun. Now the sun is still back in Libra and Venus is getting into Sagittarius, is 2 signs away. A little bit of a distance there, but it's a pretty helpful kind of balance for a while anyway, until, well, next week is next week. We'll deal with that then. But as Venus goes into Sagittarius, we have a much more outgoing, uplifting kind of attitude towards socializing and fun and stuff like that, which we'll get the start, right at the weekend, we're going to get the start of that. Venus is in Sagittarius, the moon is in Aries, and then goes into Taurus. So it's a much more upbeat, easier to breathe kind of energy in terms of socializing, in terms of relationship. And, for those of you who are looking for something to happen, Venus in Sagittarius is going to be better than Venus in Scorpio, just as a baseline level. I mean, so it's your chart, it's what's going on in your life and all that kind of stuff too. But the baseline level of it is going to be a little bit easier to work with than when Venus was in Scorpio. And, just in general, with your interactions with people and so on, Venus in Sagittarius gives a little bit more positive energy than Venus in Scorpio. As we get towards the end of the week, at the end of this week, as we get towards Sunday, we have a Mercury Saturn trine. And not to make a big deal out of it, really, but Mercury in Scorpio connecting with Saturn over in Pisces is giving us a little bit of the opportunity to, express emotions in a, let's say, direct but somewhat contained kind of way. If you have something to say, if there's a message to be delivered on the weekend, Sunday should be pretty good for that. It should also It should also be mildly helpful for traffic and things like that, I suppose. Next week, lots of stuff happening, so you should subscribe and see what happens then.